Alright, so first one on the list is throws. How we doing throws, bro?
So the key, I think the key changes that need to go into throws, they need to go in either one of two directions, or maybe even a mixture of both. Um, I really feel like throw loops as a whole, people see them as a necessary evil, but I don't feel like that's necessarily true. Um, they need to do they need to make throws more interactive and add some actual risk reward to them. Um, and the key things that I think me and Herm kind of mutually agreed on was either do one of two things: make it so throws work very similar to Chun Li's throw. If you're familiar with Chun, Chun does not have a throw loop, but she does have an oppressive throw situation in the corner because she can get a meaty off of it, which is very similar to Street Fighter V throw situations. That's one way they can adjust throws, is make it more like hers. Because then you still have the dominant presence of throw and meaty in the corner, so it's still very scary,
Yeah,
but
still
it's
on
not
top of
as
the right.
right, but it's not as volatile. Or they can make throws, which is the direction I feel like they were already kind of intending with Terry. Terry came into the game with a throw loop, but he's one of the few characters in the game that actually has a throw loop that can be punished. Like if you actually decide to backdash his throw loop, he can actually be punished. Only a handful of characters in the game could punish throws from a backdash. I believe Honda was one of them. He's one of the few characters in the game that could actually do that.
It's
But if
like
they
the
open that,
characters with a shorter backdash or something like that.
yeah. I know Honda is one of them. I don't know the full grasp of them, but I know Honda for sure is one. But if they open that up, uh, to that way, they may not necessarily have to change throw loops overall. Like they still exist for people who do want them, and also it doesn't change how people perceive the offense in the corner. Like that doesn't change. Um, Also, which we'll get into a little bit later, they don't have to overhaul the parry mechanic, which is ultimately what throw loops are supposed to counter. That's
Supposed
the
to counter. Supposed to.
keyword, supposed to counter in the corner, because if the perception is if you take throw loops out, parry gets stronger. But we'll get more into that later. But I feel like one of these choices, or one of these directions, or a mixture of both, is the key way to go about it. And also with this as well, another idea, um, with these two options is to also do it on a character to character basis. Street Fighter as a whole has always been a battle of have and have nots with its balancing. It doesn't make sense for a character who has a very strong neutral presence or can force situations on their own very safely, while also having strong Oki's MA and corner push, to also have a throw loop. Like it doesn't make sense to have that. To have it all, I should say. So, and of course, the big one that we're going to tackle obviously is Ken. Ken is the prime example of this idea. The fact that he has strong corner carry, solid enough damage, and then gets you to the corner and he throw loops you to oblivion.
Or
Doesn't make
a character like Bison, who kind of just has it all besides the reversal. Like he can just so happen to do scissor kicks, get a counter hit. You're in the corner on top of having a bomb on you, and then he can just throw loop you like that. Doesn't
right.
really. It starts to saturate the idea of a strong character, and it makes it feel like to be a strong character you have to be a jack of all trades, which I think takes away from the creativity of the cast overall.
Right, and it also rewards, which is something I think a lot of people want in the game, is that people want situations to feel more impactful, and making it so these strengths are tailored to characters that have weaknesses, that makes it so people have to understand these situations more. They have to understand these situations better. They have to understand their options better. And instead of just creating a cookie cutter idea of throw loops and having it so it creates just once you get to the corner, this is just what you do. And whether if you understand this concept or not, if you're new to Street Fighter or a veteran of Street Fighter, this is just what you do. And instead tweaking it just a tad to make it so it's a little bit more interesting when these things are defended against, because that's ultimately what makes things exciting at a higher level, is coming against the odds, and then the right decision was chosen because of their understanding of the situation, not just simply they made a choice because they had no choice but to make a choice, if that makes sense. Also, and then it plays into, I feel like, the overall theme of Street Fighter, which is, like I said before, is Street Fighter's always been built on an influx of imbalance. Some characters have certain things for certain reasons, and then some characters don't have certain things for some reasons. And I think it also makes the things that they do and don't have more interesting.
Yeah, and that's a topic I'm gonna touch on this lightly that Broski mentioned that a lot of people didn't mention before. Throw loops are very boring. You don't get hyped seeing Ken throw loop or even you don't get hyped seeing any character just, oh, he's doing this, oh, he's doing it again, oh, he's doing it again. It's not even, it's because the throws aren't even like that cool to be able to loop them back and back. Like it's not fun to watch because it's just not. So them making it that way would just make it more interesting for spectators and even newer players, because I'm pretty sure newer players don't watch a game because they like seeing the same thing over and over again. They want to be amazed. So if you make something interesting or an intricate situation, then there's more, it has more of a wow factor to the audience than just doing the same motion over and over again.
Yeah, I agree. And just to kind of back that up, I mean, we can talk about the most exciting moment in Street Fighter as a whole is obviously the Daigo parry, right? The whole reason why that's so interesting is because even if you show this clip to somebody who doesn't know anything about Street Fighter, they can feel the grasp of the situation, because that was obviously something that doesn't happen all the time.
All right. So next enemy on the list is Perfect Parry, and this has been talked about, has been nerfed already with the recovery of parry, of tap parry at least. The scaling has been reduced, like the drive damage you take after Perfect Parry combo has been reduced. Like parry has already been touched a good amount, so it's a bit awkward we're talking about it now because it still doesn't feel great. What's your reasoning, or how could we fix this in Capcom's vision? What you got for me?
Well, I think the biggest one, and I'll go ahead and just say this just from my own personal opinion, I feel like the way Perfect Parry works in the game right now makes the game really unhealthy. And I'll go into the biggest reason why, is that it promotes not understanding situations and getting rewarded for it. While also backdooring bad decisions into a really strong turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody has seen this at least happen at least once, where you corner someone, and the main like antagonist for this is Zangief. You corner Zangief, and he perfect parries you, and now you're in the corner, and now you have to fight for your life. So now this promotes a play style that you can honestly play yourself to the corner, perfect parry, and then win a match. That's really unhealthy, especially for a character of his archetype. This is not something that needs to exist or be even promoted, like a promoted play style. I don't even think that's something that should be in play. So my first change with parry is with jump ins in particular. So I understand characters are balanced with having, strong neutral game, but then have weak anti-airs, things of that nature. That's something that's existed in Street Fighter forever. So, but Parry plays into this in a very unhealthy manner, which allows belligerent neutral like pressure, but then be able to clean it up with a one frame parry. That's that just kind of spits in the face of people who are actually trying to understand how to control and do things properly. Um, and I really feel like that needs to be adjusted. So right now, most of the time, if you perfect parry a jump in outside of safe jumps, it's -5 or more, or at least -5, which means you can throw them. So you could be defending properly in the corner, everything. You go, you see a normal, you see them walk up, you go to jump out of the corner, and then they perfect parry you. Now you're back into the corner, and and then you're in throw loop bullet hell, like we just talked about. So I definitely feel like that's the first thing I feel like that needs to be adjusted. They need to there's a couple of ways we can go about this. Me and Herman have kind of talked about it. We kind of have our own thoughts on it, but I just think they just need to make it at least not -5. Making it -4 or 3, I think -4 would somewhat be okay, because then it's still like characters that do have a weak anti-air game and they need to rely on perfect parry as an answer. They at least get something. As because even if they perfect parry the jump in to the other side, they could use a 4 frame button. It's punish counter, so they can typically do a medium into a light, or a light into a medium or a heavy. So that's okay, but they won't get. And if they want to get a side switch, most characters have to use some type of resources on that. So I think that's okay if they did something like that, or just simply what Herm thinks. He thinks it needs to be at least, say,
I
0.
think 0, because the fact that I get it, a perfect. So the reason why it should be 0, here's my reasoning. I've played Marissa. I understand walk speed not that great, but if somebody defends correctly and then you jump over him, she throws out a big normal or whatever, that's your reward. You should get out the corner. If they want perfect parry to exist on anti-airs, make it 0. That way it kind of plays into 6 being scrambly already, but that way it's not guaranteed, because you made the right call jumping out the corner, and then you get perfect parry back throw, and it's like, okay, what the hell. But if it's 0, now you can just literally mash out that situation and you go back to neutral. So it's a win-win, because the guy doesn't have to necessarily guess really after perfect parrying, because it's 0. So and every character has a 4 frame in this game, so you can literally just clash to win. And then think about it, when people are low on health and they can't take the mash, think about how intricate that would be, because it was still playing to what 6 is, negative normals and all of that. Then it creates a mind game of, okay, is he gonna DP here? Do I have to block? Is he gonna throw me? Like, what are we doing here? Because you're neutral. So it will play into 6 perspective, like vision already, but the guy that jumped out the corner, you will still get rewarded and not back thrown in the corner for making the right call. I just think that's pretty redundant anyway. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
Just my opinion. I'm up for what Ian said with making it -4 or whatever, because you still get like a light into a heavy depending on the character. But 0, you know what I'm saying? Capcom hired me. I think I know what I'm talking about. It wouldn't be that bad.
I don't think it would be that bad. Like I'm for either one, to be honest. But it just to kind of meet halfway, so it doesn't just completely go away. You don't get anything if you do decide to perfect parry a jump in. You don't, it just becomes a scramble. Scrambles are also, just depending on who you ask, aren't always fun. Like my decision also kind of on making that change like that also bleeds into my next idea with perfect parry. And this is what I've been saying this since the beginning. I really think the perfect parry freeze needs to, and everybody knows the perfect parry freeze. Like if you perfect parry something, like the game pauses, and you get this big slowdown, and then you get to insert whatever. I really think they need to make it so the perfect parry freeze like that, when it freezes like that, only needs to occur on 2 points. One is if it's like a heavy button, like say you perfect parry a heavy, right?
Or like a DI.
A DI or like something big, like a big action. You know, like even now it's exciting to see. You see top players, you know, they're practicing, like actively practicing perfect pairing big normals. You know, like Bison and Ryu Solarplex, things of that nature. That's exciting to see. So like doing it against buttons like that, I think is fine. But I think when it comes to lights, like or mediums, like just like we talked about with the throw loop situation, not being very interactive or even understanding of the situations, people can perfect parry something by accident. How many times have we seen people just get perfect parry just so happened and then the momentum like shifts drastically, and it's like they're just hoping, and it's a shot in the dark, and now they're a genius, like making this into a situation that anybody can capitalize off of. I feel like it's not very, I don't think it's very genuine to the different levels of play, because like everybody has a problem with the rank situation with the elo, because you know you're playing different high level, you know, different skills of play. Like you're a 1900 MR player trying to grind, and then you play this 1500 MR player who obviously doesn't understand the situations as well as you do because they're not there yet, but because they can perfect parry by accident, on defense. Like they just chose to do it. Like they didn't even, it wasn't at a specific point, it wasn't anything. They just decided to do this, and now they changed the momentum into their favor, and now you're on defense. Like it's like, damn, really? Did I really deserve that? And if you remove that freeze like that and make it more, and to kind of reiterate what I want it to be, is like everybody's seen it when you perfect parry a fireball. Like when you perfect parry a fireball, it's like the little ching. I think that's okay. Like,
so why it wouldn't matter if they changed it? Because now if they perfect parry and if it's like a fireball, it's very like quick, just a flash. Now it's more intentional than so it'd be accident. So if like Noah is known for jumping, and he would jump, neutral jump, then parry. He gets that a lot on and he does it on purpose. But it would look, and this could be this could depend on the person, but it would look cooler if he jumps, tap parry like he was, you know, parrying the fireball very quick to your normal, like he perfect parries like your crouch and medium kick or whatever, and then does his combo immediately and keep it going. Very fast paced, exactly what Street Fighter 6 promotes. I think it would look pretty cool. I would be down for that.
Yeah, exactly. I think it would actually enhance the game. Like it would actually look better, and then that way, if and then back to what I was saying before, the 1500 versus the 1900 player. If the 1500 player does that by accident, now they have to understand and be ready. They have to not just make this decision, they have to be ready on this decision. And I feel like that is ultimately what we want yet again, is we want more deliberate actions to be favored and deliberate actions to be rewarded. And you're obviously gonna move the bar of understanding upward, which I feel like is a good thing, especially in the game's life. The game is going into 2 years old, and we still have players who are considered strong, but they don't even understand the situations that they're in that well because they can be rewarded so highly.
On top of this, also bleeds into another topic we're going to talk about, because it does. But I do agree with the parry change. I think it would be exciting, and it would be the fix. Probably the last thing they would ever need to change about perfect parry, in my opinion.
I agree.
Curious to see what people say about that. Really am.